Hi, everybody, and welcome to Module 13. Here, we're going to spend some time learning about the time value of money, which will be particularly helpful to you when you do your group project. I'm going to use two files from this video. The first one is down here, Basic Time Value of Money. That's an Excel file. And then we will go into the Appendix B PowerPoint that will further describe some of the tools we use. And then we will, as we get closer to the group project, I will have additional files which I will share with you. All right, without further delay, let's move into our Excel file. Okay, in our first tab here, it's described as the future value of an amount. We have then the present value of an amount, which we'll get to here, the future value of an annuity, and the present value of an annuity, those four items. So let's take a look at how we do this. I think you'll find this relatively easy. Future value. I put $1,000 here in the bank at a 10% interest rate. What's its value going to be in 5 years? There are several ways to do this, of course, but I want to introduce you to what I call Steve's way. And Steve's way looks like this in the next tab. First of all, we're going to put in the periods. Period 0 is now. Period 1 is 1 year from now, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, and then 5 years from now. Always the factor in period 0 is going to be 1. And then in this case, I'm using a 10% interest rate. So it's 1 plus the interest rate. And I do it in Excel, as you see up here. I take the previous cell times 1 plus the interest rate, which is 10%. And I just multiply these down times 1 times the interest rate, previous cell times 1 plus the interest rate, previous cell times 1 plus the interest rate. Okay, so I get these factors that way. And you want to do these just the way that I've done them here in Excel. Now, how much is this $1,000 worth after the first year? I think you all could almost do this intuitively, but 10% of $1,000 is $100. So we add that $100 on top of the $1,000. It's going to be worth $1,100. And then what we do is we're just simply multiplying these factors times $1,000. In Steve's way, we multiply when we're calculating future values, and we divide when we're calculating present values, which I'll show you in a second. So here, how much is that $1,000 going to be worth after 2 years? You'll see that it's not $1,200. It's $1,210. And that's because this $100 of interest that we made in the first year also gets 10% interest. So this factor that we've calculated is a compounding interest factor. And at the end of 5 years, if I multiply this factor times $1,000, it's going to be worth $1,610.51. Now you're going to find that there are tables in the text, and these tables I will go through when we go through the PowerPoint. Okay, so that's the future value of an amount. Now, the key thing, though, in what we're going to be doing is knowing what present value is. And here would be sort of a present value problem. At the end of 5 years, we expect to have $1,610.51 in the bank. The bank is expected to pay us 10% per year on our money. What is the present value? How much is that money worth today? we're going to get that money at the end of 5 years, but $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow. So how do we calculate that? Very similar to how we did the future value of an amount. And here it is. We calculate the factors, and this time we divide. So if I take this $1,610.51, divide that by the factor, I come right back to the $1,000 that it's worth today. See how that works? And if I use table B1 instead of dividing, the way Steve's way works, we're going to multiply using table B.1 here, which we'll look at here in a second. We also have the future value of an annuity, and we have and how we would do that is, here would be an example of a future value of an annuity. We put $1,000 in the bank in each of the 5 consecutive years at 10% interest rate. What is the value of the annuity in 5 years? Well, here's how we would do it. We would calculate our factor the same way, except this time we're going to start with period 0. That's the only time we really start with period 0. And that $1,000 today is worth $1,000 that we just put in the bank, right? So we calculate the present value of all or the future value of all those amounts, and we add them all together. Just that easy. But the present value, which we're more concerned with in this course, we expect to put $1,000 in the bank each year for 5 consecutive years at a 10% interest rate. What is the present value of all those payments? Well, okay, so the present value of all those payments, we take the present value of each one of these $1,000 that we put in the bank, and they're worth increasingly decreased amounts, as you would expect, and we add them all up, we get $3,790.79. Now, in the book, you're going to find that our table B.1, which we'll show you here in a second, we add those all up, and shockingly so, that is the total of all of these in table B.3 here. And if I multiply that times that $1,000, I get that $3,790.79 that hopefully you can see is the same as we did using Steve's way. And there we go. All right, that's a little bit of an overview to this chapter. So let's take a look at the PowerPoint. Okay, here's Appendix B, shockingly titled Time Value of Money. And as we look at this, it's going to show you how we apply our present value concepts to a single amount. That's what I just showed you. And this will amplify that knowledge. The future value concepts to a single amount. And then we have a present value and future value of an annuity using these interest tables. So let's see how we do it using the book way.